Look at that. We are standing on a bluff high above the Minnesota River, wind in the grass, the whole valley spread out below like a green quilt. And somewhere down there, more than 170 years ago, a traveler took one look at this exact kind of view and decided it looked like the Garden of Eden. Today we are riding through the story of Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Let's roll. First, let's get our bearings. Eden Prairie sits about 12 miles southwest of downtown Minneapolis, tucked into the southwest corner of Hennepin County. Its whole southern edge is wrapped by a big bend in the Minnesota River, which means bluffs, wetlands, and more lakes than you can easily count. Hold that picture in your head, because the land is the main character in this story. Before there were highways or corporate towers, there was this valley. Glaciers carved it, the river filled it, and for thousands of years it drew people to its banks. That rich bottomland and rolling prairie is the reason everyone who passed through here stopped and said, "We should stay." Long before any of the names we use today, this was Dakota homeland. The bluffs, the oak savanna, and the river crossings were part of a living landscape that people knew intimately. That heritage still echoes across the map here, from place names to the very field the airport would one day borrow. It is a thread of respect worth carrying with us as we ride. Now the name. Around the year 1853, an East Coast writer named Elizabeth Fries Elliott came traveling through the territory. She was gathering material for a travel book, and when she crossed this rolling, flowering prairie, she was so taken with its beauty that she reached for the highest praise she knew. She called it Eden. The name stuck, and a garden was born on the map. Now, historians note the exact details are a little fuzzy, so treat the storybook version with a wink, but the spirit of it is pure Eden Prairie. A treaty in 1851 opened these lands to homesteading, and the settlers came fast. Around 1852, families with names like Mackenzie, Livingston, Good, Abbott, and Mitchell rolled their wagons onto the prairie and started breaking ground. They came for exactly what Elliott described, some of the best farmland any of them had ever seen. Here is a detail I love. Eden Prairie's very first town board met inside a little log schoolhouse on May 11, 1858. And that is not just any date. It is the exact same day that Minnesota became the 32nd state in the Union. So this town and this state, in a very real sense, share a birthday. For the next 100 years, Eden Prairie stayed small and green. Between roughly 1880 and 1960, the population crawled from about 739 people to only around 2,000. This was dairy cows, grain fields, and market gardens. If you had visited then, you would have found a quiet farming township, not a suburb. Then the railroad arrived, and a little settlement grew up around the depot. In 1877, an early settler named Sheldon Smith built a handsome red brick farmhouse right by that hub, surrounded by a creamery, a grain elevator, a general store, and even a pickle factory. That house still stands today. We know it as the Smith-Douglas-Moore House, and after a beautiful restoration, it now pours coffee for a new century of visitors. Let's just cruise for a second and let that sink in. A brick farmhouse from the 1870s, still standing, now a cozy cafe. Eden Prairie has a real gift for keeping its old bones and giving them new life. Speaking of which, let's go meet its most famous gardener. Across from where the airport sits today, there is another brick house with a story. John R. Cummins bought this farm back in 1856, and around 1879 and 80, he built a sturdy brick home, hauling much of the brick himself and finishing the inside with local butternut wood. But Cummins was not just a farmer. He was a serious horticulturist, experimenting with fruit trees and plants, and reporting his findings to the Minnesota Horticultural Society. He even sounded early alarms about protecting native wild plants, like our delicate lady slipper orchids. His homestead was honored on the National Register of Historic Places in the early 1980s, and today it is a heritage site you can visit. Now here is where the story really takes off, literally. Back around 1941, with the world at war, the Navy needed places to train pilots. A local farmer named Martin Grill, nicknamed Pappy, had a nice flat field, so pilots from the big field near the cities began using his grass strip to practice their approaches. That humble grass strip officially opened as an airport around 1943, and it got a wonderful name, Flying Cloud, a nod to the region's Native American heritage. Today, Flying Cloud Airport is a busy reliever airport run by the Metropolitan Airports Commission, buzzing with small planes, flight schools, and a summer air expo. Not bad for a field that started with one farmer and a mowed strip of prairie. Let's coast along the water for a bit. Bryant Lake, right here, is one of the reasons people fall in love with this place. Because if the river valley is Eden Prairie's spine, the lakes are its heart. Eden Prairie is stitched together by water. Bryant Lake, Round Lake, Mitchell Lake, Red Rock Lake, Lake Riley, and the crown of them all, Staring Lake. For a suburb, that is an astonishing amount of shoreline, and the town built its whole park system to wrap around it. Staring Lake Park is the community's beating heart. There is an outdoor amphitheater here where, all summer long, The town gathers on the grass for free concerts and movies under the stars. Add a historic farm, an observatory, and miles of trail, and you have the kind of gathering place every town wishes it had. So how did a 2,000-person farm town become a major city? 2 words: highways and jobs. When Interstate 494 was completed through the area in the 1970s, Eden Prairie was suddenly minutes from everywhere. The farm fields filled with neighborhoods almost overnight. The paperwork tells the tale. Eden Prairie became an official village in 1962, and then a full statutory city in 1974. And the population, from around 2,000 in 1960, it rocketed past 64,000 people by the 2020 census, making it one of the 15 or so largest cities in all of Minnesota. Every booming suburb needs a mall, and Eden Prairie got a famous one. Eden Prairie Center opened as the shopping heart of town, and here is a fun bit of trivia. Filmmaker Kevin Smith used it as the main set for his 1995 cult comedy Mallrats. So next time you are wandering the food court, know that you are walking a movie set. But the real engine of modern Eden Prairie is business. Those easy highways and pretty office parks lured company after company to plant their headquarters here. Drive around today, and the skyline of low glass buildings reads like a who's who of Minnesota business. Consider the roster. The healthcare giant Optum runs a sprawling campus here with thousands of workers. The global logistics company C.H. Robinson is headquartered in town. So is Starkey, one of the world's leading hearing aid makers. Add the grocery distribution powerhouse now known as UNFI, the engineering firm MTS Systems, and the maker of those famous motorhomes, Winnebago. For a former farm town, that is a serious lineup. Eden Prairie grows more than crops and companies. It grows talent. This is hockey country, and the town has sent a string of players to the National Hockey League, including names like Nick Leddy, Casey Middlestat, and Kyle Rao. It is also home to world champion curler Allison Pottinger and jazz guitarist Reynold Philipsek. Not a bad hometown to put on your trophy. For all the growth, Eden Prairie never paved over its best asset. The city protects around 2,250 acres of parkland, laced together by more than 170 miles of trail. You really can pedal from a corporate campus to a wild river bluff in a matter of minutes, and that balance is the whole magic of this place. Which brings us back up here, to the Richard T. Anderson Conservation Area. This wild ribbon of dry prairie, Oak Savanna, and River Bluff was dedicated in 2014 to Dick Anderson, a longtime parks champion and city council member. Stand at this overlook, and you are seeing almost exactly what Elizabeth Elliot saw when she named a garden. And the world has noticed. For years running, national magazines have ranked Eden Prairie among the very best places to live in the entire United States. In 2010, Money magazine put it at #1 in the country. #1, a town that started with wagons on the prairie and a log schoolhouse. So there it is, a garden named by a passing writer, a schoolhouse that shared a birthday with a state, a farmer's grass strip that became an airport, and a quiet township that grew into one of America's most beloved cities, all of it still wrapped around these same beautiful bluffs. If you enjoyed exploring Eden Prairie with me, do me a favor and subscribe to Free World Explorer so we can keep chasing stories like this one down every trail we can find. Thanks for riding along. I will see you on the next adventure.